So guys, as some of you may know, I did a psychology undergraduate degree. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing and explaining and talking about what my experience was like and the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's get into it. So I studied a bachelor's degree in psychology at the University of Montfort University from 2016 to 2019. So it was quite a few years ago now. And I loved it. I really, really did. I enjoyed every moment of it. I don't know if I'd say every moment, but overall I enjoyed it and I loved it. And while I was doing that degree, when I started it, I knew that at the end of it I would either then proceed to do sports and exercise psychology or counselling psychology. And of course, by the name of the channel, I think you can guess where I ended up going or which route I took. So how I even ended up doing psychology, I don't know. I just fell in love with it. There's nothing more to it than I was exposed to it and I just fell in love with it. And you know, no one else in my life or anyone I knew had a career or experience in psychology. But I had friends who were also studying it at school. But besides that, no one had told me, or I didn't know anyone in my life who was studying or working as a psychologist. So I went into it quite blindly, not knowing what it would entail and what would come after. I just knew that I loved it and I enjoyed it from what I did at A-level. So yes, at A-level I also did psychology for the full 2 years because I loved it that much. So let's start with first year and what that was like. Honestly, for me, first year felt so easy compared to A-levels. I found A-levels to be so difficult compared to my psychology undergraduate degree. I felt like it was quite a breeze, and I was wondering why everybody was moaning and complaining about going to lectures, assignments, and I was like, well, that's what literally you came to university for. You came to university to get a degree, and that involves doing your assignments and going to lectures. Like, what more were you expecting? So for me, I already went in with the mentality that I'm going to go to all my lectures, and yes, I was that girl. I went to all my lectures. I went to most of my lectures, not all of them, and sidetracking, there was one lecturer that was hired at some point, I think in second year, and his lectures were the most boring, and it was also quite hard to understand him, but his lectures were so boring, and week by week less and less people started coming. So me too, eventually I was like, you know what, I'm not gaining anything while I'm here anyway. I just need to make sure that I read the materials and read the lectures outside of the lectures so that I can keep up with it. But I'm not attending his lectures no more. His lectures were so boring. And poor man, and I feel sorry for him because he obviously saw the reduction in the amount of people that were coming each week. And I don't know if they carried on, but I never went back after I stopped going. But for the most part, I went to my lectures and I did all my assignments on time and stuff. So yeah, for me, it was so much easier than A-levels. Even A-level psychology was difficult. So I remember in first year, all the modules that we did were mandatory. We didn't get a choice to choose which modules we did. I can't remember what modules we did in first year, but I imagine one of them would have been research methods. I think developmental psychology was one of the modules we did in first year. So a lot of it kind of reminded me of what I had already learned at A-level. So it kind of felt like we were kind of just going over basic psychology stuff. And there was a few other things I didn't learn at my A-levels that they brought up as well. So it kind of felt like a repetition or a refresher for everything I'd learned at A-level essentially, and to prepare us for second and third year. So first year was quite a breeze, and of course assignments and stuff didn't count towards the final degree. So we didn't have that many assignments throughout the year. I can't remember exactly how many we had, but I don't think it was like more than 6 or 7 throughout the whole year. And then when it came to the exams, oh my gosh, the exams were so easy. Literally multiple choice questions. At the end of first year, the exams were just multiple choice questions, and I was like, bro, I paid £9,000 for this, £9,000 just to do multiple choice questions. But anywho, I'm not complaining because it was easy, and yeah, I obviously made it to second year. In second year, I think we had different modules, slightly different ones, slightly more interesting, challenging ones, different ones. I can't remember all of them, but I did write down a few that I could find on my laptop. We had cognitive psychology, which I enjoyed, research methods, social psychology, and personality and intelligence. Those are the 4 modules that I have written down, but we did more. One thing I do remember about second year was the shift in the workload was crazy. I remember, yes, I think in first year we had about 7 assignments. In second year they doubled it. We had 14. Who sent you and why do we have 14 assignments? So I remember vividly we were doing an assignment every month, if not more, because it was every month I was you do one, you get your results, but while you're waiting for the results of that one, you're doing another one, and then you have to start another one. It was just non-stop. The whole of second year was just assignments. It was a lot. And I was also going through a lot personally. So second year was by far the most difficult year I had while I was doing my undergrad. And I was also trying to work at the same time, but I couldn't even give that much time to finding a proper job. They had a few odd jobs here and there, but it was difficult to have like a stable job because I had to prioritize uni. So yeah, somehow I managed to get through it. But I remember also we always had Wednesdays off, like all the way from first year to third year. Every Wednesday was like that one day that we had off. But in terms of how many lectures we had, it varied. It could be like 1 hour a day to 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day. But it was different each day. So some days it was just like you had 2 lectures or 1 double lecture. And then some days you had maybe like 1 lecture and a 2-hour seminar, or you had 2-hour lecture and a 2-hour seminar. But yeah, it varied. It was never more than like 5 hours in one day. Most days were pretty calm and chilled. And then Wednesdays were always off, and I think submission day was always Wednesday as well, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. And then for the exams in second year, I remember it being multiple choice as well, but we had also a few long answer questions that we had to do, so it was a mix of multiple choice and also like writing a bit more. So this time you had to actually know stuff and know how to explain it. You had to like write a short essay, critically analyze the studies that you had to remember and memorize and talk about. So in that way it was a bit more challenging, and I was like, okay, I'm working for my degree like a bit more now. So second year definitely came with its hardships. Like the assignments were crazy, the exam was not too bad, and of course I made it, and now went to third year. So got to third year in one piece, made it out alive, and at this point we had the choice to pick a lot of our own modules. I think there was a few mandatory ones, but the options we had, I picked quite a few. I picked clinical, not because I liked it. I didn't like it, but I had others I didn't like even more. So clinical was the last option for me. Otherwise I wouldn't have picked it if there was a better option. I've never liked clinical psychology, still don't to this day. I picked counselling, which of course I loved. Doing that module is what led me to be so sure that I wanted to do counselling. I loved every moment of it. It was so interesting. I also picked cognitive neuropsychology, which I also loved because at some point before I applied for psychology undergrad, I almost applied for neuroscience. Like I just loved just knowing things about the mind, the brain and how it works and blah 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 blah. So cognitive neuropsychology was an interesting module, and I picked that one as well. I also picked wellbeing and positive psychology, which was nice as well. And then we had some mandatory modules like conceptual issues and critical debates, research project, which was the module for writing our dissertation, and an employability skills module, which I remember everyone disliked, but we were forced to go. So yeah, the turnout was great because we had to go. I didn't really find it that useful, but yeah, it was alright. There was like one lecture which I remember was kind of useful, but yeah. And I will talk about my dissertation project later on in the video. But also in third year, you may recall from one of my previous videos that I talked about how I volunteered as a research assistant. I'll have that video linked in the description box below. So I also volunteered as a research assistant for one of my lecturers who was looking for people to help with her research that she was publishing. So it was quite competitive. I don't know how many people applied, but it was quite competitive, and 2 of us got it. There was only 2 positions, so me and another girl got it, and essentially we had to help our lecturer with basically doing the grunt work. We had to set up the research lab, conduct the experiment, give instructions to the participants, advertise and slot when people would come in, and then tidy up after, record the data and keep the data in a safe place, and then obviously pass it on to her and clean up the lab when we were done. It was a lot of that, which was good preparation for me to be able to do my own research, so that was helpful, and I wanted to be able to add that to my CV as well. So I also did that in third year. So also, side note, if you're able to volunteer for your lecturers as research assistants, go for it. It will help you definitely, especially if you plan to do a master's or a PhD afterwards. It will look good on your application. So like I said, in third year we had our dissertation project, our research project, which we had to write. And your girl was very, very, very ambitious. Like, I had big ambitions for that study. I wanted to go into prisons and interview people who had been convicted of domestic abuse, because what I wanted to research was the connection between abuse and love in a romantic relationship, and how people get to a point where they abuse somebody that they claim to love. Like, I just wanted to understand, like, how is that even possible for you to say you love somebody but then you're abusing them? Do you actually believe that you're in love with this person? And of course now, a few years later, I have a bit more understanding on abuse in romantic relationships. I do understand it a lot better now, as opposed to that time, which is why I wanted to research it. But of course, very quickly I learned that no, you can't be that ambitious at undergraduate level. I was like, you know what, it's fine, I'll do it on my master's. No, I didn't do it at my master's level. A video is coming soon on that though, on the research project I did at master's level, because that one I really did enjoy it as well. But anyway, back to my undergraduate. So gradually I was learning that, okay, you can't just do whatever you want. As much as they say, you know guys, this is your chance to shine and choose what you want to do and research like what you're passionate about, and yeah, that wasn't the case. As we got closer and closer to preparing for our research project, I got assigned an amazing supervisor. He was probably one of the best lecturers we had at the time, and I was so glad that I had him. I think each supervisor had like 6 or 8 students roughly, so me and a few other girls were his supervisees, and he was a great supervisor for sure. So I could see that, okay, there was like a limit on how much we could do, but the limit was smaller than I thought. So by the time I ended up having to pick something, not only was it not what I wanted, because we had meetings with our supervisors, so I had meetings with him like these are my ideas, and kind of basically couldn't go through with any of them. Ended up having to do a study which had been done prior, like, and I then realised that basically what a lot of the lecturers do is that they recycled the same studies to their students each year, and they'll just basically encourage the students to repeat the same studies that other students have already done in the previous years, and you don't really get that much room for creativity unless it aligns with their area of research or something that they're kind of keen to help you with. You can't be too ambitious like I was. Like, who did I think I was at 20, 21, trying to go to a prison to interview people? Safeguarding, hello. So yeah, clearly I didn't know much, but anyways, we grow, we learn. I ended up doing this research which I was not happy with. I did not enjoy it. I understood it, but I wasn't passionate about it, so it was just like, okay. And the name of the study was Investigating if Change Blindness Abilities are Influenced by Sex, Time of Day and Personality Trait. It was simple to understand, but I just didn't like that. I didn't like anything about it. It was just like, okay, I don't care about change blindness. Like, I get it, it's cool, it's interesting, but I don't care about it like that. So yeah, the whole process was just a bit yeah. And I remember when it came to now writing up about the study, I mean, I think it's shown through that I did not enjoy it at all because of the feedback I got. But what I really struggled with was the results section, because one, I'm not good with numbers, and numbers are not my passion. And also SPSS software, if you know, you know. No one really enjoyed it, but yeah, we had to. So my results section I really struggled with, and I flopped so bad. I think that was the one section which was marked the lowest because I really struggled with it. But just because I wasn't passionate about the project, like, it really shone through, and it was so clear, like, I just didn't enjoy it. And then on top of that, me and the other girls that were working with the supervisor, we all had to submit early, like April or something, because our supervisor was going on leave or something by the time that we had to do the submission. So he wouldn't have been able to mark our dissertations if we submitted at the usual time. So we had to submit like a month early, which had its pros and cons. Of course, it was nice that we didn't have to stress last minute, but at the same time it was like we had to work a bit harder and quicker than everybody else to get it submitted on time for his leave and his holiday. But yeah, it was done and dusted nice and early, so I could still chill for the rest of the year essentially, which was nice. So that was the research project, which I thoroughly did not enjoy. And I did a quantitative study, which is very different to my master's where I did qualitative, and like I said, a separate video on that will be coming soon. So for this final year, the exam I remember had long answer questions. I don't think we had multiple choice. This time it was like essays, like you're gonna write today. And I remember in the exam, like writing, pen, and then being like, stopping to like shake my hand because my bones were like just frozen, and like, and it was hurting. Like, I was trying to write as much as possible, trying to like fit everything in, and I knew what I was writing, which is good, but yeah, you're writing like pen and paper, it was excruciating for my hand. But I knew my stuff and I was prepared for the exam, and a lot of stuff that I'd read in the book just that morning were the stuff that came up on the exam. Like, thank you God. The exam was difficult in that sense, like if you didn't know theory and know how to explain it and how to structure your essays. But we'd had practice from first year, second year, third year of how to write essays and assignments, so you basically had to do that. But in the exam, just a shorter form of it, of course, because we had to answer like 3 essays, I think, and then a few other shorter questions. And that was third year. So third year was also felt like, you know, I'm really working for this degree too. So that kind of felt like, okay, I'm being a serious somebody. But overall, like, I genuinely enjoyed psychology, and I enjoyed the experience, I enjoyed the university. Overall though, psychology, I didn't know what I was getting myself into in terms of like job prospects. If I'd known, I would have been a bit more mentally prepared and done a bit more in terms of volunteering and stuff. That's one of the things I wish I'd like known before. Like, okay, so after I do psychology, then what? Like, yes, I'm doing a master's, but even the master's, I didn't know counselling would be 3 years, and I almost cried to my parents like, have to do another 3 years? And they were like, yeah, go for it. And I was just there like, don't want to. But I did, of course, a video is coming on that soon. But yeah, that was my psychology undergraduate degree I did from 2016 to 2019 at De Montfort University. And yeah, if you also are doing a psychology undergraduate degree, or if you're planning to, let me know in the comment section, and you know, share your experience as well. So this was just me sharing like how my experience was. And yeah, if you have any questions or any commentary, let me know. And until my next video, speak to you soon. Bye.